Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How's everyone?
So good.
Friday again.
Morning.
Morning. Are you wearing lippy?
No, so Zoom has these filters.
Oh.
I don't put makeup on for work. Fuck, I look like shit. What again?
7 a.m. What?
Nah. Like, look at this. Can you see my facial hair? How good is it? Holla. So yeah.
It's really suiting.
How you doing? Yeah.
Is that with the new update?
Yes. Do the new update.
Like, so you know how you no longer, you know how you don't get pop-ups at the bottom anymore? Like if people come in, it's like this black strip at the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've missed so many people.
Oh.
It's like it's not obvious. Like I keep making the mistake of like not seeing people.
Yeah.
It's no good. Just behind me. Did anybody get round to practicing? I know we said we were going to send out videos, but editing the videos took longer than I thought. So I ended up sending them yesterday. Yeah, has anyone been practicing?
No. Just being honest.
That's okay.
I have, but I still find it hard to coordinate.
Yeah.
But I've been practicing.
Yeah. Oh, good. That's okay. Because like I said, I was going to send out videos and then I didn't finish them. Like,
that's okay.
There's more to go, but we finished at least a good amount of maybe what we've covered in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, like after today, I guess you can like go back and recap. Yeah, to practice for real. So today we're going into. So we've been doing with like in supine position, so lying down on our back. So we've been using the floor as an extra stimulus to feel whether our spine still stays neutral. And now today we're going to flip it the other way.
Now we're going rogue.
We're flipping us the other way. So I've got a bit of a new setup, and I just realized you're wearing dark pants on a dark mat.
Yeah, but I'm like quite high up, so it should be okay.
You're high up.
Well, like we're in this prone position now.
No, you're lying down on the floor.
Oh, I am.
Prone.
Oh, okay.
In prone.
Where do you want me?
Yeah.
Up here?
So the rules change a little bit when we're in. Oh, hello. All right. So when we're lying down on the floor, forehead down on the ground. So when towels relax, we can see that the belly can push into the ground, and we step away from neutral spine a bit. We create this like a little bit of a mini hyperextension in the back. So what towel's going to do? So we've talked about it a few times in class, but we're going to think about trying to scoop our belly button away from an ice cube. So we just scoop the belly button away, and it helps us engage our T-zone a little bit more. It also helps us tighten the ribs. Now, what he's done by doing that is that he's automatically tucked his pelvis underneath slightly, and it's almost like he's pushing his pubic bone, like drawing his pubic bone towards the ground. Is that what you're doing?
I just stopped.
You just stopped?
Yeah.
No, but is that what? Like?
Yeah. Pubic bone towards the ground, ribs come down a bit. I try and think about getting my belly button
Towards my spine or off an ice cube?
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so that's in our setup for T-zone. So we can give it a go now if you'd like. So you can lie down with your forehead down on the ground, think about an ice cube directly beneath your belly button, and you're scooping the belly button away from the ice cube.
But still turning like pelvic floor on, trying to think about that T-zone, all those same things, right?
And so while you're scooping that away, see if you can inhale, keep that T-zone active, and exhale, keep the T-zone active. So we're going to do a couple of rounds of breaths.
How do we work the breath? Do you say? Do I inhale and then put on pelvic floor and all that?
Well, what we want to do is, so we're getting to a stage now where T-zone should be automatically happening in your head. So prior to setting up in an exercise, it's the thing that you want to tick off already. It's the thing that you're already like using. So prior to like focusing on your breaths and starting to do any exercise with your breaths, you want to have that T-zone already on. You already want to have your spine in a neutral position. You want to have everything already set up prior to moving around. So as you hold the position, we'll do a couple of rounds of breaths, trying to maintain it. And remember, they don't have to be big breaths. They don't need to be these massive inhales or massive exhales. Just enough so that we can still maintain our form. Keep pushing that drawing that pubic bone into the mat, scooping the belly button away from the ice cube. Three, two, one, and relax. How's that?
It is a lot harder on your stomach. So
It is a lot harder.
It heaps harder.
Yeah. Now, what we're going to do, so
Yeah.
So that's automatically what you want to have set up. So now when we start to do any exercises where we're using the arms or the legs, that's the automatic position that we want to be in. That's the position that we want to sustain as we move the arms and legs around. So if you're starting to, if you feel like you're starting to lose it, or, you know, the belly is starting to push into the ground, or, you know, whatever other things can start to you know, break down, just reset each time and then start again.
Like back down here.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like come back down to this position.
Yeah, come back down to this position. Well, when you're lying down on the floor, yes. You just like relax and then reset.
Right.
Yes. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start challenging the ability to maintain this as we move our arms around. So how big we want to be able to move our arms around is the same thing with the breathing. How big you want to breathe is as far as you can still maintain what you're doing in your T-zone and your pelvic floor and all those other things that we're still adding more to the mix. So what Tao's going to do, keeping his forehead down on the ground, is actually going to bring his arms into a 90-degree position with his hands in line with his forehead.
It can't be 90 degrees then.
All right, smartass. Okay. All right. So what we're doing here is we're going to activate our lower trap. And so what he's going to think about his shoulder blades that sit like this. He's going to think about drawing the shoulder blades into the center and then down towards the back. He can keep his arms on the floor. He doesn't have to lift them up. Yeah. So while he's doing, like, that's what we're going to be visualizing. But now, if we don't maintain everything downstairs, this is when we can start to use our lower back instead of our lower traps. So our lower traps just getting around to that midsection of the back, but it shouldn't actually utilize any of the lower back. So what he's going to do is he's going to prepare his pelvic floor and his neutral spine. Yeah. And then once he's ready, he's going to inhale, draw the shoulder blades in and towards, without losing his neutral spine. And then exhale, separate.
But don't turn off.
Try not to lose the position, no. Remember, it doesn't have to be a big movement. It's as far as you can still maintain that position.
Are our arms meant to move? No, just our shoulder blades.
Well, we're going to keep them on the floor for now, just so that you can still focus on the midsection. But if you feel like you're getting the hang of it and you're not pushing that belly into the ground while you're doing it, then you can lift your arms if you'd like. Let's give it a go. So set yourself up first. Think about scooping the belly button away from the ice cube, pubic bone tucking in towards the mat. And then once you're ready, you're going to inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Then exhale down towards the ground. To separate them, sorry. Good, maintain that belly button away from the ice cube. We're still drawing the pubic bone into the ground. And the movement is just as big as you can still maintain that neutral spine. Good. Every once in a while, if you're starting to find that your lower back wants to help out, you'll feel that belly starting to push into the floor instead of drawing away from the floor. You can also reset and start again.
Inhale, leg, bring back.
Yeah. Here we'll go a couple more breaths. Go for one more round of inhale and exhale. And then relax. How did we go? Now, typically, when we're starting to do things in prone, you'll start to notice that like this is hard to maintain. It's like the lower back really wants to help out. Did anybody find that at all?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so did you find like your movements, like how big were your movements? Were they small ones or were they huge ones? Small. Yeah. That's what you want to do. You're challenging the ability to maintain this. And so your movements should dictate what you can still maintain in the middle. All right, moving forward. Tal's going to bring his arms right by his side. So I find that the 90 degree is a little bit trickier, but he's actually going to place his arms right by his side now. Same thing, forehead down on the ground. And then now, what we're going to do is we're going to do the same exercise, but the arms are going to be right by our side. So this is starting to change it a little bit. Arms are a little bit more unstable in this position, but the arms being closer towards the torso might be a little bit easier. And so we're going to do the same exercise, but with our arms right by our side. So setup is the same. Scoop the belly button away from the floor. We'll draw the tailbone down towards the ground. And then when you're ready, same thing, we're going to be drawing the shoulder blades in towards the center and then down towards the mid-back. Now, if you can do a couple of these and you're not struggling as much, then you can think about lifting the arms up with you along with the shoulder blades. Go ahead and give it a go. We're moving with the breath. Good, keeping the belly button away from the ground. Good. Go for a couple more rounds of breathing. So you can inhale, lift it off the ground. Exhale, returning it down to the floor. Let's go for 2 more rounds of breath. So inhale. Okay.
Yep.
And exhale.
My nose is.
And relax. Did anybody find that easier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the reason why we find that easier is because the arms are in a more stable position. So the closer they are to your center, the easier. I'm like falling up against the wall. The closer they are to your center, the easier it is to try and get some muscle activation. But as soon as the arms start to come further and further away from your center, it's a little bit more unstable. So a lot more concentration is required. So now we're going to move on to a little bit of back extension. So the back extension we're going to be focusing on is upper back extension, not lower. Same rules still apply. We want that scooping away from the ice cube and pubic bone down towards the ground. At least your nose is going to come off the floor now.
Yeah.
So we can set up our arms into that 90-degree position once again. So arms right, like arms, hands in line with the forehead. And then setting ourselves up so we want scooping the belly button away from the ice cube, pubic bone tucks towards the ground. And then when we're ready, what we're going to do is we're going to inhale, lift, and when back extension. Thoracic extension.
I thought it was like the whole back.
No,
So it's not.
Keep
So-
your hands on the floor. Like that's the rule. Keep your hands on the floor.
I just come up
And
like
if you're happy to tick that you're ticking everything off, then you can lift your arms away if you like. So maintaining everything, he's just going to extend, but where he wants to extend to is just around to that mid area as well. Good. But he's still trying to maintain that belly button away from the ground. He's still pushing his pubic bone, drawing it towards the floor, and he's going to try to just extend in that upper back region, which is a little bit tricky. Tao's going to go for one more for demo purposes. So inhale, lift. And then exhale, extend. You can notice that his neck isn't like looking up either, because from here to here, we want to keep everything nice and neutral, just bending through that mid back. All right, let's give it a go. So set yourself up, ice cube away from the floor, pubic bone down towards the ground. Sometimes a good indication is that could someone slide a hand underneath your belly?
I don't think so.
Once you're set up, then you inhale. You can use the arms. You can push the arms into the ground and see if you can extend through that upper back, and then exhale, return down to the floor. Remember how high we go is as far as you can still maintain the ice cube away from the floor. You can still maintain that pubic position. And remember, we don't want to be pushing our stomach into the ground. We don't want to be collapsing that belly into the floor. We don't want to lose that pelvic tilt. We still want to be drawing that pubic bone into the ground. Moving with the inhale. So we inhale, extending. Exhale, lowering. Let's go for 3 more breaths. Inhale, extend. Exhale, lower. Last one, inhale, extend. And exhale, lower. And relax.
I can tell it's really good for me to
Yeah.
do more often.
Yeah.
Like I have quite an anterior tilt where like I stick my bum out, stick my belly out.
Like
When I'm standing like
Like
I don't know, naturally, and I just catch
provocative.
myself. Yeah.
But-
But I think that would be really good for like kind of trying to get a bit more on that.
We've all done yoga before, yes? Yep. You know when you do your upward cobra in a vinyasa, you can like get all the way up there, or like even in a halfway lift, you can get like a bit of like a halfway lift going on. So you know that you can move quite a fair bit, but we're starting to expose how much of that is just coming from the lower back and how much of it is coming from the upper back, right? Now also notice that the breathing pattern changes a little bit. So when you're on your back or you're on your side, we've been using the exhales to extend or exhales to do the harder part of the movement. When you're on your stomach or when you're doing any sort of extension that utilizes the back, you do want to inhale instead of exhale, because when you inhale, it helps you draw that belly button in a little bit more. It helps you create that tightness in the rib cage that we're always trying to maintain when we're doing Pilates. So the rules do change a little bit. Don't get confused. It's just for when you're doing any sort of like utilizing back stuff, you are extending so that you can look after your lower back a little bit more. All right. So we're going to leave the prone there for a second. We're just going to move on to some kneeling stuff. So Tao's going to get onto his all fours. Yeah. And we're just going to quickly talk about, sorry, I'm really close to you. We're going to just quickly talk about serratus. So serratus is what helps us stabilize our arms when we're in this position. So the serratus just comes in through here, and they just, are you having yours on? Just relax. Yeah. So yeah, they help you stabilize your arms. So the way that we know whether we're activating it is we can use those same shoulder blades again. So what Tao's going to do is if they were really, really lax, he's going to squeeze his shoulder blades together. And here is like where they're at length. So they're being lengthened. And then in order for him to shorten it so that it can help him stabilize his arms, he's going to separate his shoulder blades apart. And it's going to be like someone's pushing his chest up, his back towards the back of his shoulder blades. And so he's getting that separation, and he's sticking his rib cage, he's sticking his shoulder blades towards his rib cage. That just confused the hell out of me.
Shoulder blades on the. Okay.
Yeah. So we relax a little bit because like Tao's got really good flexion, so he's gone a little bit too far. So he's just going to separate them. So separate just to here. All right. So his shoulder blades are spread apart. They're not doming. So I shouldn't be able to feel that there's a bit of a dome in between his shoulder blades. And so that's how he activates his serratus. So you can do it. We're going to do a couple of breaths first, just focusing on that serratus. So same rules still apply. We want a neutral spine. The pubic bone is drawing down towards the ground. But one thing that you want to make sure is that the pubic bone is drawing down towards the ground and not towards his ribs. So see how if he puts it all the way towards his ribs, he's created this like huge bend in the back. So he's
The other way would be.
and the other way would be sticking out his ass like he likes doing that. Yeah. So yeah, pubic bone down towards the ground, not up towards the ribs. So once you've found that, we're going to do a couple of these like retractions and separations just to get a feel for that serratus. So what he's going to do is going to inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together, letting that chest slightly go down towards the ground, and then exhale, separate the shoulder blades. Maintaining that neutral spine, and then inhale, squeezing the shoulder blades together. The chest slowly lowers down to the ground slightly, and then exhale, separate the shoulder blades apart. Serratus manages to stay active. All right, let's give that a go.
Still
So-
find that my pelvic floor wants to switch off
Oh, really?
when I'm thinking about all these different things.
There's too many different things to think about. All right, so remember, neutralize the spine. We're still scooping the belly button away from the ice cube, but we're 10,000 meters away from the floor this time. And the pubic bone is slightly drawing towards the ground, not up towards the ribs. Once you've set that neutral spine up, T-zone on, you're going to inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together. The chest slowly lowers down to the ground slightly, and then exhale, separate the shoulder blades apart, but maintain that neutral spine and T-zone. And then inhale, lower, slightly, not dramatically, exhale, spread it apart. The same rules still apply, so continue on with that. We want to still maintain our pelvic floor, our neutral spine, and how far we move is as far as we can still maintain pelvic floor, neutral spine, pelvic position. Now watch that over the course of the exercise, that your pubic bone doesn't start drawing up towards the rib cage, and that it's still drawing towards the ground. I think you need to, yeah. Let's go for 3 more breaths. Making sure the pelvis position still stays the same. One last breath. And relax.
It's like doing cat cow with just your shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not moving the rest of your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
Now, what's really interesting, so I know in grid, the technique that we'll usually follow with like plank or, whenever we do a bear crawl, it's always like the gymnastics version where we like really overemphasize that pushing away from the floor. But what tends to happen is that as you do, like that pelvis starts to tuck towards your ribs. So Pilates is really like kind of pulling back on that. And you'll see that if you've been doing that other technique for a very long time, it's really it's a really bit tricky to try to untrain that pelvic position, especially like as you start to progress further and further into that set of that exercise. And it's something that I definitely noticed in Tao, that as he was continuing, like he was moving according to, maybe his pelvic floor, like it wasn't such a great movement, but I could see that his pelvic position was almost trying to like tuck towards the ribs, like tiny bit. So every once in a while, you want to do a bit of a reset, make sure that you haven't fallen too far away from it.
It's like my go-to from like anything, like hanging from a bar, pull-ups,
It's like,
or even like hollow holds on the floor. It's like tight, trying to keep things squeezed, and it's
Yeah.
like,
and
Yeah.
it's not wrong, but
it's not a bad position.
It's not wrong,
but
but
it's not
it's
Pilates.
become overactive.
Yeah.
So now that we've got our serratus sorted, so when we're going to do one horse kick exercise. So I just keep standing up and cutting myself out of the shot. So we're going to do horse kick. So it's on hands and knees. Yep. And now that we know that serratus activation, so it's like a slight separation of the shoulder blades. There shouldn't be a gap between the shoulder blades. So once Tao's found it, he's got his neutral spine. Yep, we're good. Then what he's going to do is he's going to inhale, just like slightly load up one leg a little bit more. And then he's going to exhale, extend the leg out just as far as he can, all while maintaining neutral spine, pelvic floor, pelvic position, and serratus as well. So just like lift up a little bit. Yep. And then inhale, return. And we'll just go for the same leg. So he's going to exhale, extend. Make sure you're still pushing up here. Good. And all the while, that serratus is going to really help his pelvis understand like where it is in space. So if it starts to collapse, which it slightly is here, I'm starting to see his hip is almost like opening up towards me.
Like that.
Yeah. So I'll keep my hand here. Keep pushing up against my hand. There you go. Good.
Pelvis looks good.
Pelvis is looking fabulous.
Right.
Good. And then go for it. Good. Up here. Yep. That's better. Good. And maybe don't go as high. That's it. Good. To see how like small the movement is. If he went all the way up, so go all the way up. Yep. He can go heaps higher, but everything is gone. Yep. So even his serratus. So let's give that a go. So imagine someone has their hand in between your shoulder blades and try to really make sure that that serratus stays active. Think about how it feels in the hands. It should really feel like you're pushing yourself away from the floor, not to the point where it's causing some sort of back bend, but really like listen to what the rest of your body is doing. Is your belly button still scooping away from the floor? Does your pubic bone still feel like it's drawing towards the floor and not up towards the ribs?
Exhale, I move my leg.
It's exhale, you extend the leg. Because there's no back bend here, so now we're going back to exhale at the harder part of the lift. I think maybe you can get away with lengthening out your legs a bit more. You're almost like a fetal position. Yeah. Let's go for it. So just go for the same leg. And this is where you can use that concept that we use in class. Like imagine you've got a tray of drinks on your back. You don't want to spill them, especially at the base of the ribs. Good. Just push up towards my hand a bit. Yeah, good. And keep contact. Good. That's it. Good. And if you feel like you've got the hang of that leg, let's switch the legs. pushing up. But watch this. So yeah, I think you're too close together.
Maybe.
Yeah. You love pretty much hugging your knees.
Christine, have you got any tips for by the time I'm trying to move my leg, I forget about my back, like my serratus and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Have you got any tips on how to just combine all of that together?
So what I like to think, when I'm doing any sort of movements in this position, I think almost like anti-gravity. So I think I don't want gravity to kind of like push me down into the floor. So I always think in my hands, I'm like pushing against gravity. And it helps me separate a little bit. Same thing with the belly. I also think like, okay, I'm gonna like lift my belly, like I think anti-gravity the whole entire time. So especially like when I've got my legs, especially like in how this one leg is supposed to be able to support the whole entire pelvis. I think everything like lifting up, right? Because the moment you start to like, focus on everything and the gravity take over, that's when you start to see like things collapse and like the arms start to bend and then the back starts to bend because it just doesn't know, it hasn't like your hands and your knees are your body's checkpoints for knowing how to stabilize in movement, right? So any connection that you have with the floor, that's what your brain is using to try and balance and stay strong. So any connections I have with the floor, that's what I'm thinking about, like actively like pushing myself away from the floor when I'm moving. And that's what helps me figure out what I need to do in the midsection.
Yeah,
I'm a bit the same, Shell. Like I'm kind of constantly going through a checklist. So I'm going like serratus, pelvic floor, all these different things. Am I tucking my hips under too much? Am I doing this? So I go through this checklist, and then by the time I've kind of like left one, it probably switches off.
I
Maybe
think what I also think is when I'm in the starting position, I think, okay, I'm going to do my checklist. I'm doing all of my checklists. I'm like, okay, what can I feel like on a muscular level activating? So I can kind of feel like things happening here. I can feel that this is tight. I can feel like I'm squeezing here. I can feel like all the things that I'm feeling. And so when I start moving, I think I'm not going to let go of those things that I can feel as I start to move. And so usually when I'm doing my Pilates or like any sort of, well, actually it's something that I carry on with like weightlifting and all the other stuff. I always think, what can I feel like muscle wise being stimulated? I don't want to let go of that feeling as I move. And so usually like when it, even not just in Pilates, but also in doing weights, I'm usually the person that's always moving really slow.
But there's something to like that. So yeah, I think it is that, just having that. Maybe I need to be better at that as well. But having that like super focus,
dialed in.
Yeah. Because I know that, and there's studies around that with like really connecting the brain to muscles that are working through exercise, and you can get so much higher activation through those muscles. I mean, it would be the same, I guess, if you can really focus. Yeah. Okay.
Or as I say, Shell, think about like, when we used to do like planks and stuff in grid, and then like Christine or the trainer would try and push you over to see like how activated you were. Try and think like that when you're trying to hold the position. Like, could someone just push me over at the moment because I'm not activating properly? That might help as well.
Yeah, that might make sense too. Yeah, and like how you explained it as well, Christine. How good. Yep.
Yeah, it's almost like a fight to hold on to it. It's like,
yeah, I think my brain's just trying to remember everything and yeah.
Okay, last thing. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to start our plank series. So just with one exercise. So we're going to get to the same hands and knees position. I do think yours is too close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think mine is further away than me, and I'm smaller. So these are called tricep circles. So now we're actually, like as the name suggests, we're going to focus on the triceps, but we're starting to like move the body more. So it's no longer about the limbs challenging the ability to keep our T-zone on or our spine neutral. We're going to start moving the body away from the center, and it's going to challenge it a little bit more, that center of mass. So same rules apply. We still want to lift the belly button away from the ice cube. We're going to keep the pelvis neutral. That pubic bone is going to draw towards the ground. And I like to squeeze my butt while I'm here. All right. Then what we're going to do is, as Tao, like, Serratus is on, all the things, there's a million things to keep on. What Tao's going to do now is he's going to inhale, bend his elbows. And it's almost like he's like lowering his head down towards the ground. He's going to end up shifting his body weight back a little bit as he bends his elbows. Good. And then he exhale, moves forward slightly, extends the elbows, and then inhale, return back and bend the elbows. Exhale, extend forward and up. Inhale back, bend the elbows. Exhale, forward and extend. Inhale, return, bend the elbows.
I feel like I don't know what my pelvis is doing. I feel like when I go here, I'm almost going into my classic tuck a little bit.
So don't go as far forward.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if anyone's done a planche before, if you're going that far forward and you're starting to lose your pelvic position, do not go as far. So a planche is what, if we can just, so a planche is it's a gymnastic movement.
Impossible.
It's where the shoulders are slightly forward.
A planche is where you go forward like this and your feet come off the ground.
Yeah.
But you hold it.
But where your shoulders are is like slightly forward than your hands. Whereas a classic plank is like where your hands are stacked right on top of your hands stacked right on top of your hands. You know what I mean?
Underneath your shoulders.
All right. So let's get into the starting position. You don't need to be as close again.
Yep.
Yeah. So think about the same thing. So serratus. So think about separating the shoulder blades, scooping the belly button away from the floor, pubic bone slightly tucking to the ground and squeeze the bum. Then when you're ready, together we're going to inhale, bend the elbows. You'll end up shifting your body weight back slightly. And then you're going to exhale, shift forward, keep squeezing the butt, and then extend. Inhale, return, and bend the elbows. And then exhale, forward, and extend. Good, this is going better. Inhale, return, bend the elbows. Exhale, forward, and extend. Inhale, back, and bend the elbows. Exhale, forward, and extend. Let's go for one more. Inhale, back, bend the elbows. And then exhale, forward, and extend.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
So hard.
Oh, we're slowly building the layers of your Pilates practice.
Felt like I barely moved then.
Yeah, I felt like I didn't.
Circles, like really little circles.
Yeah. So, how did everyone find that last one? That last one I always find tricky because it's like, how far can you go before you start to like, you can go further, but then you start to collapse.
This is all just challenging this whole setup as you start to let loose with everything else, right?
Yes.
Which is
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's essentially what Pilates is. It's the base. The base technique is like the T-zone, the neutral spine, the pelvic position, the breathing. That is always the base. And then every other exercise you do is challenging the ability to hold on to the base while everything starts to move. And it's tricky when you're in a big class. It's like you're trying to still like, you're at the mercy of the group X environment. So you need to give everyone an experience that they're walking in the door with, of like getting this amazing workout. But Pilates is actually like, if anyone's done any sort of clinical Pilates, that's essentially what Pilates is. It's very specific in how to look after your lower back as you move.
Seems like less is more, right?
Less is more.
You're not just going after that burn, which I've done Pilates at Virgin. I was doing everything wrong 100%. Like I was burning in my glutes and I was burning certain things, but it was probably like completely like not breathing, not bracing, not doing anything right.
Yeah, but that's what I mean by they've got to give you that group X experience. You got to come in and you got to feel the burn. You got to feel like you did a workout. And so like, but that's totally not what Pilates is. If Karen agrees with me, I think Karen agrees with me.
Yeah, definitely. I think to start off with, you barely move, but then as you keep doing it, it's like you're barely moving, but you still the next day you're like, oh my God, I'm so sore. Like when you start doing it right, but it's in places you've never, like you didn't even know you had muscles there half of the time and get soreness.
Yeah. So we're finishing off the videos, hopefully before Monday. So like at least up to what we've done so far. Next week we're moving on to the side. So this is like, the side is usually something that you'll progress, like, you'll do your floor lying exercises, and then you'll move on to the side. I find the side the trickiest. And so I've held that till the end. I think the side series are one of the hardest because we just don't move laterally.
But also
we're
you
very,
don't have anything to like go off. Like when you're in a plank or when you're in that, you've got like, all right, I got this hand, that hand.
Yeah.
When you're in a side, I can imagine it would be hard.
yeah, we live our life like, very forward, sometimes reverse, but like we're very used to like this plane of movement. So we're quite good at like what's this word I'm looking for? Responding to that direction. But then the moment you start to do the side stuff, we don't move side to side. We're not crabs. So I find this side, the lateral stuff trickier, which is what we're doing next week. So hopefully we'll get those videos done for you, and then you can start practicing and you'll be prepped and ready for the side lying stuff.
And we thought after next week, maybe we do a class. Like,
Yeah, we'll start doing some
so
actual
it's not,
class form.
Yeah, put it together in more of a class where you actually.
But we're breaking it down, and then after next week, we're going to stop the breakdown and we're going to move on to some classes. There you go.
Oh, sweet.
All right.
I think that's it.
Yeah, we'll let you go.
I know it's quite slow and like focusing more on just like really trying to connect the brain to what's going on, but I think it's probably more important than letting loose.
All right. Well done, everyone.
We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.